The story begins by showing an injured woman avoiding some men, then softly singing for her child to help him sleep. She leaves the child with someone who invites her into her home as she claims to have to get him medicine. However, she never returns, and we see that 18 years has passed. A young girl named Lucia begs for some candy, as we see that she is asking the grown-up version of the baby, since we see that he wears the same walnut necklace. His name is Shu, and he explains that they need to save money. The girl dramatically claims that he has changed, so he gives in, asking that she stop watching soap operas. He overhears people talk about someone that had emitted blue light from their hands, and another that was able to lift 4,000 pounds. He explains that there has been lots of news recently about people being able to do superhuman things, and some people are claiming them to be superpowers. The two attempt to watch a show at the festival, but he isn't able to carry her for long, so they make their way to the front of the crowd where Shu has a strange vision. As they watch the show, he begins to wonder if the performer is using some kind of trick to control the flames, or perhaps he has developed superpowers. Afterwards, Lucia would like to go backstage in the hopes of being taught the tricks so that they can make some money. Shu says it's a bad idea, but hesitates for a moment and realizes it might actually be a great idea. There, they witness as the performer is put to sleep, and once they are found, they claim that they simply got lost looking for the bathroom. The men claim to be police and are simply taking the performer into custody for not having permission to do a show there. Shu thinks how that is definitely a lie, but doesn't say anything as the men let him leave. Outside, a man sees that he came out from backstage and would like to know what Shu saw. However, Shu doesn't like the stranger and just ignores him. He then thinks to himself how it seemed as if the performer had been using his superpowers in his show and predicts that the men might be going around capturing those with powers. Lucian keeps using his name and Shu says to call him brother, but she refuses, reminding him that they are not blood related. He threatens to leave her at the orphanage, but she says to do it, since she will find her way back to him anyway. Shu asks what she would do if there were super strong people in the world, and she says she would just become stronger. She believes Shu to be weak, but says it's okay as she will protect him and all he will have to do is cook. Later, Lucia watches the news that shows people young and old doing superhuman things, and questions if it's magic or the awakening of the human body. She will have to go to the store to get more noodles, but Luciao says his food never has flavor and would rather eat the walnut around his neck. He says to not even think about it, and she again exclaims that he has changed. On his way to the store, he has memories of how Luciao had always been by his side growing up. As he crosses the street, he is struck by a vehicle and lies on the ground as he loses consciousness. However, in that moment, something supernatural occurs. His walnut is destroyed, emitting a light that courses through his body. He wakes up having no damage and feeling no pain, making him wonder if he has developed powers, but puts that thought aside as he wants to take that opportunity and make the driver pay. However, the man runs away as he believes Shu to be a ghost. He buys some flavored instant noodles for Luciao and runs home. His encounters with people after the accident now show numbers above their head, but he ignores them. He explains to Luciao that he was hit by a car but is fine, and she concludes that Shu must have killed the driver. He inspects his body to find a strange marking when a user interface appears before him. It displays several names of people he doesn't know with balances next to them. He then realizes that he had scared the people earlier and that their negative emotions become his points. He believes to have awakened his powers and become the Demon King, since the more negative emotions, the stronger he becomes. He uses his balance to gamble, but loses several times. He finally manages to win one turn and only receives an apple in return. However, after eating it, he realizes it gives him a really good feeling. He gambles away his remaining balance, but manages to win his final turn. He receives the lyrics to Twinkle Twinkle Little Star that has been altered a bit. After singing the song, he sees that he has been taken to a star system, so he yells to the shawl if she saw him fly out the window. She says no and that he is stupid, making him realize he must still be home. Lucian needs to know what to put on the noodles, so he tells her to put onions, which annoys her a bit, and makes him realize he can get points off of her. Later, the two watch soap operas together when the news reveals a fire nearby. Shu goes to see it from the roof and finds the strange men from before. The men find him and question what he is doing. Shu luckily had found a basket of radishes and told the men he was up there collecting them. One of the men says that he didn't notice any fluctuations in Shu's heart rate and they let him go. He wants to explain everything to Luciao but is interrupted by someone falling off the roof. She has several negative feelings for not being able to go investigate with him and follows him anyway. The man is the performer from earlier, and Shu wonders if he had caused the fire. He speaks poorly of the man, and the numbers reveal that the man is only pretending to be unconscious. Shu wants more points, so he says that they should leave the performer's body there, and it is not their problem. The man begs for water, but Shu only offers snow. He continues to antagonize the man, so the performer tries to burn Shu. However, all his attempts are unsuccessful and claims that he was just joking. He leaves, and Shu explains that he has awakened his powers, but Lisha doesn't believe it and says it wouldn't matter anyway since his body is so weak. Later, Shu realizes the user interface also has a shop, and he buys a celestial fruit. After eating it, he arrives at the star system again, where he sees a second star become illuminated. He returns to find that he now has supernatural strength. He goes back to the living room, and LaShawn teases him for missing a school event, but he explains it's because they have no money. He needs to pay for food and her schooling. He teases one of his friends over messaging and finds that he can earn points that way as well. The Shah brings some eggs that they will be able to sell the next day, and Shu praises her for her job well done, but asks about her homework to farm some more points. The next day, Shu sells the food alone as the Shah has a cold. His stand is near his school, and some of his classmates ignore him out of embarrassment. A rude classmate named Lee tries to humiliate Shu, but he is unbothered. Shu manages to trick him into buying all the rest of his eggs while also getting lots of points off of him. The guy has no cash, but a popular girl named Chao lends him some. Shu explains how eggs are high in nutritional value and a good brain stimulant as his annoyed classmate leaves. In class, it is revealed that a website has been made specifically about awakened people. It is explained that there are currently 6 ranks that range from F, which are only slightly stronger than ordinary people, to A, who are those that can resonate with heaven and earth. Leveling up slowly by awakening multiple times is also possible. Shu acknowledges that he is currently only level F, just as a student barges in, revealing that a classmate has just awakened after arguing with the teacher. Shu follows the commotion that eventually leads him to the roof, passing Chao along the way and noticing that she hides her ability. At the roof, the student warns that nobody approach him, but all Shu can think about is how to collect all the negative emotions. The student believes he won't get in trouble for any wrongdoings because he is too young, but Shu steps up to demonstrate his in-depth knowledge of the law, which shocks everyone and earns him several points. That opportunity is used to capture the student, and a classmate wonders how Shu knew he wouldn't throw the teacher over, but he explains he didn't know. Back in class, it is revealed that everyone will be getting a blood test that can't be avoided. On his way home, Shu sees the same guy he ignored at the festival helping his auntie with some medicine, only to ignore him again. Lishao's fever is getting worse since she tried to wash Shu's clothes, and he attempts to get a celestial fruit in the hopes that it will cure her. He finally manages to win a few, and she is shocked when she eats it. The shell gets better and wonders what kind of fruit just disappears in your mouth. He gives her some more, and she begins to believe he is awakened, and wonders if fruit growing is his great ability. She explains that she would like to awaken as well, and he promises to find a way. Before he leaves, he mentions her homework a few times to get some points back. The next day, it is explained that there will be a special class set up for the awakened, and they will know who they are because of the blood test. Shu's classmates mock him as they are confident he is not an awakened since he appears to be so weak. All the students are then introduced to the teacher of the special class named Mr. Fei. The students of the special class are then revealed one by one, and everyone is shocked when Shu's name is called. We are then shown a dispute far away over some ruins. It is between a man and someone he refers to as an invader, and their dispute becomes a fight. In class, a new student Jiang is introduced, and is seated next to Shu. The class is surprised to find that he is a boy as he has many feminine features. Later, Shu realizes that his new teacher was one of the mysterious men in black he met before, and wonders what the class's true purpose is. Mr. Fei asks if anyone knows what sodium-potassium alloy is and calls on Shu, but his answer is embarrassingly bad. Jiang explains that many metals have become a medium for aura transmission, and some people are even able to turn them into weapons. Mr. Fei explains that 17 months ago, the world's environment began to change, and people with skills emerged. When sodium-potassium alloy comes into contact with blood, the color that emerges reveals that person's rank. However, he makes it clear that this is only their current level, and how they develop depends on them. Later, the students' ranks are published, and Shu's classmates mock how he is the lowest ranked at rank F. Jiang is amazed at how unaffected Shu is by the insults, as he sends a message making fun of his rude classmates' haircuts. That night, Shu reveals that he only started eating more fruit after the blood test, so the results are definitely worse than how strong he actually is. His user interface reveals that he has reached the maximum amount of fruit he can win with the lottery, and it can only be bought at the shop. He tries the raffle again to find that the new prize is now stinky tofu. Lixia would like for him to get her some pancakes, but several attempts only result in more tofu. Eventually, though, something new comes out that affects Lixia, causing her to see a star system of her own, meaning that she has had her first awakening. That night, she wonders what the difference between their two star systems is and if there is a connection. He wishes that he would stop getting so much stinky tofu when he comes up with an idea. The next day, Shu admires a man as he practices swordsmanship, and the man offers to teach him, but Shu declines. We then watch as Shu puts his plan into action. He is able to earn money by selling the stinky tofu while also earning points from people smelling its awful stench. The results are great, putting Shu in a great mood and earning plenty of points to buy tons of fruit directly from the shop. After some time, we see that Shu's star system has developed quite a bit, and he is now able to call upon a sword. He recalls how Mr. Fate taught them that there can be anywhere from 3 to 7 stars. Shu explains that he received the sword after breaking through the first star, and wonders what he will get for breaking all 7. At school, the students panic about a recent bank robbery committed by some awakened, and wonder if it will cause problems for other awakened. They discuss the idea of the class forming a group that fights crime. Lee explains that Shu doesn't have to be completely useless, as his father is thinking about hiring a bodyguard. Shu explains that Lee is clearly an unhappy person and is glad he isn't like him. In a special class, Mr. Fade gives each of the students a spirit stone that they are supposed to use to help them practice and report the results. However, after using it, Shu sees that it only makes his star system extremely violent, making it useless, and he wonders how he will tell Mr. Fei. The next morning, the sorcerer once again sees that Shu is admiring his technique and asks if he wants to learn, only to find that he is not interested. At lunch, Jiang tells Shu about an organization authorized by the country to gather awakeners. They are divided into the Earth Network, which is for the most common awakeners, and the Heavenly Network, which are for the strongest, that are at least a B rank. There are less than 10 members in the Heavenly Network, the strongest of which is a man named Ting. That night, Shu eavesdrops as he sees that the swordsman next door has a visitor who introduces himself as Ting, and asks to see Master Li. Master Li is glad to see members of the Heavenly Network and welcomes Ting inside. Ting explains that the world is at war and asks that Master Li join him as the last member of the Heavenly Network. Master Li explains that they have different views and he only wants to spend his twilight years in comfort. Ting says that there are many ruins that have yet to be explored, and if they find more herbs, they will hopefully get them to him in time. Master Li declines his offer, and Ting hopes that the next time they meet, they will not be enemies. As he leaves, Ting promises to still keep his word about the herbs. Afterwards, Shu explains who that was to Lixia and thinks how it might be a good idea to accept lessons from the swordsman, as it seems he is more powerful than he originally thought. The next morning, Shu expresses interest in learning from Master Li, but there is one thing taking up all his time. Master Li is eager to teach, and so he offers up to help any way he can. Shu says he needs help with his sister, and explains not to worry as she is super nice. A grumpy Lixia emerges from the house, and Shu explains that Master Li will look after her when he is not around, and help with her studies. The story continues as we see Shu watch a recording of a crime being committed by a level E awakened. He wonders what could be causing him to receive points from Master Li as he has gotten many all day. Outside, he sees Chao as he can hear classmates gossip about how powerful she is becoming. On his way home, he sees that Lixia is frustrating Master Li immensely as she is being a difficult student. He realizes that his and Lixia's star systems must be connected, and that any resentment she creates will earn him points. Her personality is perfect for antagonizing others, so he urges her to continue being herself. Master Li then requires that Shu wear weights to improve training, and Shu says that his special Yuan class that is taught by Mr. Fei already increases strength. Master Li explains that the man who created the course named Yujin is a member of the Heavenly Network, and understands training like no other, but extra lessons in body movement will help Shu achieve his goals. Shu then easily handles the weights and requests the next lesson. Master Li demonstrates his abilities and tells Shu to swing a sword 1,000 times, making sure to feel the changes in his body as he does. He knows that his muscles currently have no memory, only talent, and once his swordsmanship becomes instinctual, he will be able to achieve another level. Afterwards, Master Li would like to know what Shu thinks makes someone strong, and he explains that those who are strong enough to ignore the rules can be considered strong, but Master Li explains that experience is what is needed to get there. He then asks if Shu is willing to take on greater responsibility when he comes to possess great power in the future, but Shu says no, explaining that his only responsibilities are to survive and take good care of Liu. Master Li tries to explain that she is not the only one he will be able to take care of and could help others. However, Shu still says he won't, since it has been very hard for him to even just survive in this world, and he doesn't have any lofty ideals. Master Li thinks about how hard it is to convince him to believe in the mission of the foundation he belongs to, and explains to Shu that he cannot be his disciple. However, he will still teach him swordsmanship under one condition. The next day, we see that Liu is in a much friendlier mood and a lot easier to teach, since Shu has provided her with several snacks. Just then, a man arrives, and Master Li asks that Liu recite an annoying saying for greeting unwanted guests. At school, Shu gets a notification that he has received points from Yujin. He immediately recognizes him as the Heavenly Network member Master Li spoke of earlier. He arrives home to see that the Shao is fine, and Yujin wonders if Master Li will be teaching Shu, but says that it would be a waste of time since he is only level F. Yujin then explains his reason for coming. Ruins are beginning to reappear in the country, and he asks that the foundation Master Li created with the goal of saving the world not get in the way. He reminds him that the final spot on the Heavenly Network is his if he wants it, and also would like for the Foundation to work with the network in the future since he claims they share the same goal of world peace. Afterwards, Master Li explains that Shu shouldn't be nervous around Yujin if he is truly a level F, and asks that they take the sodium-potassium test to determine what their true potentials are. That night, they take the test to find that they both have the potential to reach level A. However, after a moment, Shu's test changes to a color that is not even on the chart. As Shu buries the results, he lies to Master Li, since he believes that it will be safer for them to hide their true potential, especially considering how many powerful people Master Li attracts. Later, Shu manages to crack the second layer of his star system to find that it gives him a skill that provides protection against injuries. We then see that Liu is making progress as she sleeps, and wakes to reveal to Shu that she has cracked her first layer. He makes sure to let her know that he is still one level ahead though. She explains that a black hole appeared in her star system, and she began to feel the energy of dead beings near her. After picking one, it was sucked into the black hole. Now she can call upon it and have it do whatever she wants. They find some more dead ants to test if she can control multiple at the same time, but she cannot. After trying it on a bird, she explains that it has no time limit and barely takes any energy, but it depends on the quality of the spirit she controls. Liu would like to try it on something stronger and requests that they go to a cemetery, but Sha doesn't like that idea. Instead, he brings her to a slaughterhouse to find a pig, explaining that if she doesn't like that, he knows of a donkey nearby. That night, Shu asks that she get her piggy out. Once she does, he runs some tests to understand the spirit a bit more, only to see that he has upset Liu very much. To make amends, Shu makes her favorite meal. When she asks why he is smiling, he explains that he is just happy that he can provide her with such good food every day now. He then thinks about how great it would be if he could buy the house they are renting when he senses something happening nearby. He attempts to leave her behind, but she explains that she sensed it too and will be going with. He arrives to find Mr. Fei and some other blackcoats have come in contact with a level D awakened. The level D robber and his goons prove to be very formidable opponents, causing lots of problems for the blackcoats. Even when it seems that Mr. Fei has gotten the upper hand, the robber causes a massive explosion that gives him the opportunity to escape. Shu explains that it is too dangerous and tells the shell to leave, so she begrudgingly does. Shu is surprised to see how well prepared the network is when he sees how much backup has arrived. We then see as the goons would like to surrender since they value their lives more than the money, but their leader points out that they murdered 2 blackcoats on the bridge and promises to get them out of there. He does manage to get them all out of the building, however he gets chased down by one of the blackcoats and gets pierced by his weapon. In that tense moment, everyone spots Shu's figure but are unable to tell who he is. He tries to explain that he was simply on a walk, but the blackcoats chase him anyway. Shu's growth from his training is on full display as he manages to avoid attacks while taking command of the fight. The robber is also doing very well, giving a good example of just how strong a level D can be. Mr. Faye's attempts at affecting the two battles in any way go unrewarded, as he only manages to add to some cool explosions, ultimately being knocked unconscious. After Shu sees that everyone is unconscious, he encounters the robber. Shu uses his immense strength to overpower a punch from him and his dagger to finish the robber off. Shu returns home and is inspected for any harm, and tells the Shao that they should go out in an attempt to find some good spirits. She is a bit skeptical since that is exactly what he said earlier when she just ended up with a pig. He thinks they should trust each other more and asks if he has ever tricked her, to which he replies yes. As they leave, Master Li asks where they are going, and they lie, saying they are going out to eat dinner. After the Shell scouts the area, Shu brings her to where the battle ended. Shu reveals that she can sense 3 lingering spirits, and he tells her to have the black hole taken the tall guy. However, after trying to bring the spirit out, she reveals that she doesn't have enough power, but should after about a day. She says they can't go home yet since he promised to take her out to eat, but he thought that was just a lie for Master Li. She explains that he won't believe them if she were to go back on an empty stomach, so he agrees to take her wherever she wants. He explains that she doesn't need to eat so fast since they are financially well off now and he can take her to eat more often. Shu then says that things could get dangerous, so it would be best to hide her abilities for now. She knows and says to stop talking since the food is getting cold. He starts to believe that life with him must be difficult and she may have a better life at the orphanage. She asks if he plans on leaving her alone at the orphanage again, and exclaims that she doesn't care about food or clothes, all she cares about is that he is her family. Shu then remembers when he had left her before and how difficult his life became. She eventually managed to find him, and the two would go on to work really hard on creating a better life for themselves. Li Shao would even take on all the responsibilities whenever Shu was sick. He then tells her how he would like to buy a home for them and to not cry anymore, as he promises that they will always be family. Elsewhere, members of the network discuss the incident with the robber and how a mysterious awakened appeared that seemed to have the potential of a level C. They wondered who it could be and what the shadow that covered his body was. To press the importance of finding out who he is, Ting explains that there are only 7 people in the entire network above level C. One of the members explains that the next ruin will appear in that city, and that he should be the one to go as there is no room for error. Ting accepts but warns that he behave himself. Another member was able to determine that the level C is still just a teenager by the way he spoke and is amazed at how someone so young can already be so strong. Later, Shu explains that his stinky tofu has become very popular. However, people no longer get negative feelings because they have gotten used to the smell and love the flavor, causing him to no longer receive points. After selling out though, he sees that he could get a few points by disappointing some customers. That night, Li Shao excitedly wakes Shu to show him that she was able to bring out the spirit of the D-level robber after one day. She explains that she can even make him use his abilities and asks if she wants to get hit as a test. However, he declines as it would cause too much damage. She is able to see some of the robber's memories and knows where he hid the stolen money. She also saw the fight before his death and compliments Hu's attacks, but takes it back. The shop wants to get the money, but Shu explains that they must turn it in to the police. She continues, explaining that it would be enough to buy the house, but Shu says to leave that to him and they don't have to buy it the wrong way. She is relieved, assuming that means he has the money, and asks where it is. But Shu says that it is in the future. She goes to bed and Shu looks at a flyer showing the house will cost 240,000 yuan. In class, Shu shows Jiang some chives that had sold for a lot of money. Jiang explains that those chives come from a piece of blessed land that the person's parents bought, and that they have the power to accelerate an awakened breakthrough. Blessed lands are places where spiritual power is abundant, affecting animals and plants in the area. He explains that things imbued with the spiritual power are worth a lot of money, so almost all of the blessed lands are bought up by the rich. Furthermore, blessed lands have different levels of quality. The blessed land Li's family has, for example, is impure and will harm Li if he uses it too much. Shu then wonders if the spirit stones the students use are valuable, and Jiang reveals that a shipment of the stones have arrived and will be distributed by one of the heavenly leaders. Later, all the students attend the inauguration ceremony for their new principal. A member from the network named Li Xiao arrives, explaining that he was trying to dig up some money when the cop showed up after receiving an anonymous tip. When Shu sees him, he instantly senses his power as a level B, and Li Xiao seems to notice something, but turns out he is just wondering why everyone is missing class. As the new principal, Li Xiao must make a speech, and all his attempts to get out of it fail. He goes up and simply requests that everyone work really hard. Later, Li Xiao formally introduces himself as a level B to the Yuan class, and tells him about the suspicious person that is believed to be a C level. The mysterious person defeated the D-level robber, wields a sword, and is protected by an energy shield. If they see someone like that, they are to report it immediately. He goes on to say that from that day forward, they will receive spirit stones for their training on a monthly basis. Mr. Fei then explains that those with the potential to achieve level C will receive 1 stone, B 2, and A will get 10. Everyone that has awakened will get an additional 2 stones though, which means Shu, who is thought to not have enough potential, will at least get 2 stones a month. Later, Shu asks Jiang if there is a black market for the spirit stones. Jiang is shocked that he would sell away his future, but Shu explains that he can't focus on training if he has to constantly worry about making a living. The real reason, though, is that the fruit he buys from his power shop is much better for accelerating growth. Jiang says that the stones are controlled by the network, numbered and forbidden to trade, but there is a black market for them. The price is 100,000 yuan each. Shu says he wants to sell his for 120,000 each, and Jiang finds a buyer. He is also shocked that Shu trusts them to hold on to the stones, and he explains it's because they're friends. Back home, Master Li is shocked to see Li Xiao come out of his own house, and Li Xiao explains that he was only dropping off the medicine that the network promised to get him. Master Li once again asks that Li Xiao recite the annoying greeting for unwanted guests, and she gives a much longer version. Li Xiao explains that 2 skeletons that can move freely were found in some ruins, and it could be equivalent to a level E awakener. Li Xiao wants to know if he has any information, but Master Li explains that the Foundation has kept its promise to not interfere. Lastly, Li Xiao brings up the suspicious level C, and how his fighting style is similar to Master Li's, but backs off quickly when Master Li is offended that he would think it's a student of his. That night, Shu shows Li Xiao how much money they now have, and the cell phone he bought her for emergencies. He also explains that he will be taking the day off tomorrow to sign the transfer of the property, as tomorrow the house will be theirs. She is in disbelief, asking if the courtyard, the floors, the walls, the bugs, and ants will all be theirs too. He says yes, and that even the dust will be theirs too. That night, Shu makes more progress with his star system, and we see that a dark cloud seems to enter the Xiao's body. The next day, Shu finalizes the property transfer and receives a text from the Xiao, asking that he return to their home to enjoy a meal together. However, he must decline her offer after he receives an emergency text and phone call that explain all students from the Yuan class are to assemble immediately. The story continues as we see Jiang explain that a ruin is about to open up, and that they are being taken there. He has heard that whenever ruins appear, they attract several masters who fight over them since they contain treasures such as medicines, blessed items, and weapons. The most valuable of which is something called the Formation Eye. If someone manages to get it, the whole ruin disappears. Their Yuan class is headed there so that they can train and take advantage of the abundance of power that flows from the area surrounding the ruins. However, they will not be able to enter the ruins since the students are not high enough of a level to survive. Shu can see that Li is eavesdropping on their conversation and uses that opportunity to earn some points. At the camp, Mr. Fei explains that the entire operation is confidential, even their training, and that anyone that speaks out about it will be court-martialed. Later that night, Li attempts to make fun of Shu for being poor and only being able to have a meal since it was provided for free, just to be ignored. As they eat, an extremely rude student demands preferential treatment by getting a chair, but after insulting Shu gets taught a lesson. Shu and Jiang then discuss the benefits of training there, but Jiang reveals that while the spiritual power around the edges is high, it is even greater inside the ruins. They then lament how they won't be allowed inside. Later, Shu doesn't want to train around others, considering he is the only one that must sing the Twinkle Tinkle Little Star to do so. However, he realizes that he has a much better way of leveling up anyway. Shu goes to find the easily bothered Lee and torments him relentlessly as he attempts to focus on practicing, yielding Shu several points. The next morning, he checks his inventory to see that he was able to earn 9 pieces of his leveling fruit in one night. Cell phone signals are being blocked, and so he is not able to contact the disappointed Li Xiao. Shu would later find that his handling of the rude person the day before has earned him some added respect when he receives an extra piece of chicken and a seat, which he declines anyway. That night, Shu continues his own form of training by distracting Lee with some childhood stories, like the first time he tried a watermelon, and that time he found an ant the size of his thumb. Just when Lee thinks he has found a peaceful place to practice, Shu appears to admire the night sky and the closed ruin in the distance. The next day, Shu uses his leveling fruit and explains that he has gotten to the midpoint of being a level D. At lunch, Lee reveals that he has managed to level up and will like to fight Shu, but Mr. Fei stops them. He explains that comrades need to remain on good terms and that an arm wrestling match should be enough to settle it. Lee prepares for the match of his life with an intense expression, but is quickly defeated. Mr. Fei is curious and wants to give it a shot, only to be defeated as well. He acknowledges his talent, and Shu explains that arm wrestling Lee seems to be the key to leveling up quickly. Afterward, Shu notices a mist forming, and Jian explains that it must be the portal into the ruins. Furthermore, whoever enters will be trapped in there for however long it takes for someone to find the formation eye. Just then, alarms sound and the students are told to retreat from the base of the mountain, as the mist has begun to descend, approaching rapidly. After being separated from Jiang, Shu lands in the mysterious ruins and is attacked immediately. He handles the undead creature pretty easily, managing to knock it down, but realizes that isn't enough and finally finishes it off. As he wonders where everyone else has gone, more undead begin to emerge from the ground, but he finds that he can just outrun them. Shu would then encounter a group as they run from some zombies, and he defends them. As he struggles with one of the monsters, the group begin to wonder if they should help, but ultimately decide to wait and see, planning to take the axe if he is killed, since they believe that is the source of his strength. Shu finishes it off, and the group explain that they plan to stay there since the zombies are gone, and wait for the ruin to disappear. A girl asks that he stay to protect them, but Shu ignores the request and tells them to watch for movements in the ground since the monsters could reappear at any moment. He recommends they try to outrun them, but if they can't, then they must destroy its head. He leaves them the axe and leaves. The group is then left to wonder if he would have stayed had they helped him in the fight. Days later, we watch as Shu defeat some more monsters and reveals that things get more dangerous at night. He plans to make his way up the mountain to get a better view when he runs into the body of the network member who had been nice to him in the past. Afterwards, he spots a flying object that he thinks may be from a magical weapon. He knocks it back to its origin to find that it was actually just a flare. Instead of there being a name of the person he receives points from, there are only numbers, like an ID code. Shu approaches the person, and we get a glimpse into the past to see that he was trained by a secret organization from a young age to live in the shadows as a spy in other countries. Him and a group of others were given flares so that they could find one another after being split up. Shu notices that he is dressed like a Yuan student, but he knows them all and is certain this guy isn't one of them. The guy is giving Shu a bunch of points by just standing there though, and Shu wonders if he can guide him 10,000 by the end of the night. The guy then introduces himself as Chang, and Shu lies, introducing himself as his classmate Li. Chang would like to see his sword, but Shu just uses it as another opportunity to get some more points. Chang decides to leave in search of his classmates and recommends Shu look for his own, but is shocked to hear that Shu wants to help him first. Shu can't believe how similar Chang is to Li and refuses to let such a good source of points go. On their quest, Chang thinks to himself about how he had been watching Shu for a while and was killing some of Shu's classmates along the way. He thinks about how he knows Shu is only pretending to be weak and foolish to be trusting a stranger like him. They encounter a group of monsters, and Chang requests Shu's sword to clear the way, but his plan is to really outrun him, leaving Shu to die. Shu, however, messes with them again and ends up leaving Chang behind instead. After Chang catches up, there is a bit of a tense moment, but it's broken up when Shu says they should rest. Chang says he won't sleep, and Shu says he won't either. Instead, he will practice. However, as he does, he begins to snore very loudly. Thinking he's asleep, Chang wants to use the opportunity to attack him, but Shu startles him, saying that he is done practicing. After not sleeping at all, Shu leaves to pee and returns with some stinky tofu. Chang is shocked and asks how that could be, but Shu only goes on to explain the silly and long-winded origins of its recipe. This proves to be the last straw as Chang finally makes his attempt at killing Shu. The battle is long and Chang's abilities as a trained spy are obvious, as he manages to eventually disarm Shu of his sword. However, the battle is ended by one devastating blow from Shu's dagger. Chang falls, realizing only now how strong Shu really is. Shu then trembles as he thinks about how things change so quickly and how cruel the world can be. He does not want to be a murderer, but understands he must do what is needed to survive. He can only sigh as he wishes that he could be with Le Xiao. Sometime later, Shu gathers a fruit that resembles an apple, only to see that squirrels there have gained intelligence and can generate negative emotions. He runs for a while and wonders how he has yet to see anyone else. He thinks about how big the ruins are and realizes that he had been going in a circle when he should actually be going to the center, since that is most likely where the formation eye is. Just then, he gets chased by a pack of wolves, and when he is taunted by the squirrels, he threatens to come back for all their fruit. The chase intensifies, but Shu reminds himself that he needs to return to a Xiao, and gets a burst of energy. He would then encounter a group that recognize him and are disappointed to hear that he has not brought help. But then realizing surviving alone must mean he is really strong. Shu realizes there were some from the group earlier, and the girl explains that the others had killed each other, fighting over the axe since they believed it's the source of his power. Shu reveals that they have not had food or water for some time and beg that he stay to protect them. He declines and thinks how he is no hero, just someone trying to get home alive. They envy him as he eats, and Shu tells him where they can get some of the fruit. They can get there in about 2 days if they walk fast and avoid getting torn to pieces by the wolves. He continues eating as the group decide they can overtake him. One of them threatens that he should give him some, and Shu begins to tell him the long-winded origins of the stinky tofu recipe. He is disarmed, and Shu asks the man if he would prefer to keep the axe or the sword. However, when he chooses the axe, Shu reveals that he will be keeping both. Shu then continues on his quest to find the formation eye, but we do get to see that he didn't leave them completely empty-handed. Later, Shu gets attacked by a zombie with a spear and is surprised to see that it is capable of having emotions. More of them appear, so he runs for cover, and the first zombie sighs as he is now the only one without a spear. Shu then takes a moment to admire his new Spear of the Ruins that is able to have power injected into it. We then see as members of the network prepare for another difficult fight against 9 of the cavalry zombies, and plan to pick each one off after taking the leader out first. They notice that one is different from the rest since it wields a sword, and assume that he is the leader. One of the members wonders why the Heavenly Network member isn't helping them, and the other member says he was taking care of some level C spies who snuck into the ruins, but really they were all just running from danger. Their sniper lands a shot on their primary target but must run as it didn't create the confusion that they had hoped. They realize now that they must have been wrong and have now lost their advantage as the zombies are aware of them. As they fall into despair, they notice a U1 student all alone and prepare to fight to protect a hopeless kid. However, they are in awe as they watch the young man pick off one of the zombies, taking its spear and escaping with ease. They determine that he was the one to take the other spears as well, but no one in the group knows who he is. Their leader explains that it would be impossible for him to have been a Yuan student since he had to be at least a level D to do what he did. However, one of the students that is with them reveals that the kid is actually the one that managed to level up from arm-wrestling Lee. Elsewhere, Shu receives some points from the Xiao and wonders what she could be so upset about. He has a memory from their childhood when he expertly hid in a game of hide-and-seek. That is, until he was found by Le Xiao, who explains that it doesn't matter how good he is at hiding, she will always find him. Afterwards, he predicts that once the ruins disappear, all his weapons will be confiscated by the network. He decides to sell them to others in the ruins for cash, but doubts anyone has cash since there are no ATMs in there. However, before that can happen, he realizes that he underestimated the zombies as they have now snuck up on and surrounded him. That doesn't matter though, as he uses his exceptional skills with his new weapon to destroy them all. We then get a glimpse back home as LaShawn lets out her frustrations on a picture of the absent Shu. She runs out of chips, calling Shu a bastard, and gets a hidden stash with the words "Don't open" on it. After making her way into it, she finds another note that says whoever eats the chips deserves to be punished, and that she should wait for him, which she does. A glance over to her phone shows many texts that she has sent Shu, asking for him to return home already. Members of the network discuss how Shu somehow managed to disappear, and that scouts that are looking for survivors will report back if they find him. Food is becoming scarce, so the priority is to hurry and break out. They hope to find Shu so that he can join their group since he seems more experienced with the zombies. They arrive to find the remains of a battle and determine that whoever did it left without any harm at all. The students then all wonder if it was Shu, as all the weapons are gone, and that is his style. A scout arrives to inform them that the 9 horsemen guarding the entrance to the core of the ruin have begun chasing someone. They decide on a plan to attack the cavalry so that they can enter the core. However, it requires that they split up and attack from 2 sides. Elsewhere, Shu takes a moment to find that the ruins are very effective for amplifying powers, since he has already earned enough to purchase another leveling fruit. After eating it, we see that a 4-star in a star system has been illuminated. The network members then discuss how the Yuan students are too weak and afraid to fight, so the cavalry captain must be targeted by them, otherwise the students will be in danger. The moment is tense as they prepare their ambush. However, Shu appears from the sky, bidding farewell to the zombies that he calls ATMs. The network decides that they should help Shu and are amazed to see how many weapons he has collected. Their help comes too late though, as by the time they arrive, Shu explains that he is done and they can all relax. The network member is stunned, but all Shu cares about is making it clear that all those weapons are his.
The story continues as Shu has just defeated all the undead in front of everyone. He is surprised to hear that the network member knows his name, and so he explains that a couple students are aware of who he is.
Shu is clearly worried about his weapons, but they assure him that they will not steal them. Shu asks if that means he can keep the spears as well, and the man again promises not to take anything at all. Shu explains that he is alone and wonders why their group didn't join the battle sooner, not realizing that he ended the fight too fast for that to happen. He doesn't want to share the weapons since none of them actually participated in the fight, but realizes he can't really use them all, so he then reveals his plan to sell them for an affordable price. His sales pitch manages to attract his first customer, but he reveals he has no cash and would like to pay when they get out. Shu declines but offers to take the man's pendant instead, which only ends their negotiation. However, someone else steps up, offering their very valuable watch, and Shu gladly accepts. Trade offers then begin to flow in. Shu explains how much more dangerous the rest of the journey will be and how much safer they will feel with one of his weapons. Shu gives the best weapons to those who have clearly fought hard on the front lines, and offers up a rusty old axe to a guy who Shu believes to have not risked his life at all. Shu gives an intimidating display of the axe's usefulness, and the guy accepts. Later, Shu admires his new collection and declines any help to carry all his goods. Their journey continues, and after the temperature begins to drop quickly, Shu wonders if that means they are getting closer to the core of the ruins. The group leader explains that he is correct, as they began to encounter more people as everyone attempted to reach the center. He then reveals that many network members had died along the way, but all the students managed to survive, which makes it clear to Shu that the members had given their lives to protect the students. Shu wonders if it was worth it, and the leader explains that if you're wondering whether it's worth it, you've already lost. During a break, it becomes obvious that the network members are famished, so Shu gives them the fruits he picked earlier, explaining that they will recharge everyone's power. They divide up the fruit and are ecstatic to see that their thirst, hunger, and tiredness have all gone away. Some students wonder why they didn't get any, and Shu explains that he gave fruit to the ones who have been risking their lives to protect them. However, when one man offers the most valuable item so far in exchange for a fruit, Shu can't help but accept, explaining that he can now take LaShawn on a trip since she has never been out of town. The students talk about how greedy Shu is and how he seems to only live for money, which only makes it clear to him that they must never have been poor. Just then, several spirits appear, and Shu notices how similar they are to the Xiao's spirits. Shu's sword, called the Corpse Dog, then begins to react to the spirits and acts on its own, but Shu tries to hold it back since he doesn't want to reveal his powers in front of everyone. Their group prepare for an attack, but the spirits become frightened of Shu and retreat. He determines that the Corpse Dog must be the enemy of the spirits since LaShao's pig had a similar reaction, and that this means he should be able to detect the spirits in the future as well. They seem to have reached the core of the ruins, and one student recounts a story of how he had only survived because of Chao, who he explains is the only person in the city with level A potential. He also credits her with leaving them some weapons, since one sword and spear is all she needed. He spots her in the distance but is distracted once he sees Shu with all his weapons. Shu opens up his shop again, and some students ask if he knows the person who had defeated the cavalry leader. Shu would much rather talk about how valuable his weapons are, and the student is disappointed to realize that he is the person he was talking about. Shu explains that his weapons are so valuable that they may even be exchanged outside of the ruins for secret training techniques, which bring even more demand than before. However, business is interrupted when he is called to join a meeting the network is having. Shu arrives covered in valuables, and Mr. Fei introduces him to the level C member named Yu Tang, who is filling in for Li Sha as the commander in the ruins. He explains that Shu and Chao managed to stand out from the rest while in the ruins, and hopes they will follow his command. Yu Tang then reveals a flying sword of his own, and Mr. Fei explains that it is a blood-nurtured sword that only level Cs can use. Shu asks if someone could have more than one, and he says that they could, but it would only result in an insufficient blood supply. However, Shu is relieved since his corpse dog doesn't need anything. Yu Tang recalls his sword and explains that the hole is 100 meters deep with a cave at the bottom, but they should wait for Li Sha before proceeding. Later, Shu checks the logs of the points he has received for anyone with numbers instead of names, and determines that there are at least 9 spies among their group. Just then, Li Sha arrives with an entire fruit tree and compliments Shu on his style. The leader of the squirrels appears and expresses its displeasure towards Li Sha, but is distracted when it recognizes Shu's laugh. Shu manages to survive its attack, and Li Sha realizes Shu must have taken some of the fruit as well. Later, Li Sha explains that his level C companions had both been killed along with many other level Cs, but they managed to kill all the enemies as well. We then see that the squirrel is in utter despair as it must watch its precious fruits be eaten by the humans, but is able to find happiness again when Shu gives it one. Shu is then reunited with Jiang, who explains that he managed to kill 4 horsemen, and Shu shows how he has done pretty well for himself also. They are interrupted when someone demands that Shu give him a weapon, claiming that he will pay him 50,000 yuan when they get out, and is disappointed when he is rejected. Shu notices, however, that the man doesn't have a name and realizes he must be a spy. Shu says he doesn't take promises as payment and he leaves. Later, Li Sha gathers everyone and explains that they should all rest well, as tomorrow they explore the opening. The plan will simply be that everyone follow him to success, and rejects the idea that the plan should be more detailed. Later, she figures out that 1 negative emotion point from the shell means she missed him, and 10 means something reminded her of him. All the hundreds are when she is upset he hasn't returned yet. However, he is most shocked to see 777 points and wonders if she hates him now. While everyone sleeps, the group of spies enter the hole, but the one we saw earlier is stopped by Shu, who asks if he plans to take everything for himself. Shu says that he will come along and they will split the findings, 30 for him and 70 for Shu. The guy agrees but explains that Shu should get some others to help as well. Shu leaves and the guy believes to have fooled Shu, only to find that he hasn't. The other spies ignore the fact that one of them is missing, and the guy begins his attack on Shu. Shu manages to avoid the attack easily and very loudly asks what his intentions are. He goes on screaming about the guy's intention to take the formation eye, and everyone wakes up. Just then, Li Xiao appears and attacks a man, explaining that he was a spy. His plan from the beginning was to tell everyone to sleep so that the impatient spies would be tempted to go ahead of everyone. Everyone is impressed, but Shu questions if they should have left him alive for questioning. Li Xiao then commands that all the students that are not strong enough will stay and be protected by Yu Tang, while the rest descend into the ruins. Furthermore, they are to find who is missing from the network to determine the identities of the spies. Yu Tang agrees to stay, but asks that he be informed of any secret plans that Li Xiao comes up with in the future. Yu Tang would then give a speech explaining that their priority is to protect their own lives. He tells them that Li Xiao is much more powerful than them and that there will be times when they can't follow him wherever he goes, so they must use their heads when things go bad. Later, Li Xiao admires Shu's collection and remarks how tiring it is to carry all those watches, but Shu says it's not. Shu refuses to let him help carry the gold chain as well, so Li Xiao instead asks to go into business together. He explains that several ruins will be opening up soon and that the amount Shu has just made could be multiplied several times over. Shu is a student though and will not be granted access to the ruins, but Lisha can get him in. In this business, Shu will get 10% and Lisha 90%, so Shu says that he should be more generous, referencing the common saying, smile generously. Shu goes on to say that he is such a low level and will be at more risk, so it'd only be fair to split everything 50-50. This only upsets Lisha since Shu can't even enter ruins alone, but Shu says he has earned enough money already and doesn't need to risk himself for more. Lisha begrudgingly agrees but warns that he will end their partnership if Shu proves to be too weak, and asks that he not hide anything. Shu claims that he is not that greedy, and Li Xiao asks for a gold chain to celebrate their new partnership, but is declined. Later, Li Xia attempts to give a motivating speech but fails miserably when trying to quote the old saying Shu mentioned earlier. As the group descend, Shu notices that lights that cannot be seen from above illuminate the abyss. When they reach the bottom, they find that the spies from earlier have killed themselves, but Shu thinks to himself how he doesn't think it's that simple. They make their way further and reach a castle, only to find that they have been trapped. Several spirits appear from the crystal surrounding them, and Li Xia attempts to push them back. There are too many of them to take out on his own, but Mr. Fate determines that they are not very strong, and encourages everyone to fight. Shu is eager to fight as well, but the spirits run from him, which only infuriates Shu. After managing to chase them down, Shu sees that his corpse dog is absorbing the defeated spirits, making him fight even harder. Just then, a ghost resembling the dead spy from the center of the ritual appears and kills someone. Shu determines that the ritual is for sacrificing the other spies to make this one into a powerful spirit. Li Xia uses his massive power to get rid of all the weaker spirits. It is explained that the man at the center of the ritual is named Zhao, and that he had originally been a level D but seems to have now reached the peak of a level C. This is because Zhao had been doing research on abilities that allow someone to absorb other people's energy after death to increase their own power. Shu thinks about how absorbing spirits is kind of like what Li Xiao does when his corpse dog tells Shu to attack to his left. He doesn't see anything but is surprised to find that he actually hit Zhao. Everyone is stunned and Li Xiao wants to know how he did it, but Shu tries to explain he was just swinging randomly. He promises he isn't lying and picks a random spot this time, only to find that he was right again. The next few guesses hit nothing and convinced everyone he wasn't lying. Just then, zombies emerge and their leader is upset that they have broken into its castle, demanding that they must now stay forever. Li Xia commands everyone to leave the leader to him since he believes the spear in its hand could be the formation eye, and seizing it would make the ruin disappear. Li Xia initiates the battle and manages to dismount the leader, which only infuriates it. The rest of the group join the fight and Shu demonstrates his ability with the spears. Just as he is about to be hit with an arrow, Chao arrives to stop it and shows off some strength of her own. After another zombie runs away from him, Shu begins to lament having the seemingly invincible corpse dog. He realizes that all the zombies have left the castle and that it is a perfect opportunity to look inside for valuables. Further in, the corpse dog begins to react, and Shu believes that Zal must be holding a grudge for finding him earlier. He then receives negative emotion points from the Xiao, but this time they have messages attached to them. She exclaims about how he has not returned yet and lied about only being away for a couple of days. While Shu is distracted, Zhao attempts a surprise attack, but he reacts quickly and counters it, finally putting an end to Zhao. Outside, the ferocious battle between the level C Li Xiao and powerful zombie ruler continues. Eventually, the Xiao manages to get a hold of the spear and vows to never let it go. We then see that Shu has reached the city center and believes that since nothing was found so far, there must be something good inside. After entering, Shu stares at some spears and notices that they are longer and more advanced than his. However, before he can grab one, the statues begin to move. Shu's corpse dog emerges and once again his opponents back down. He can see that the statue is still active but prepares to add more spears to his collection anyway. Yet when he grabs one, the statue refuses to let go, so Shu resorts to threatening it with the corpse dog, which works instantly. He goes on to collect some more, and we go back to see the battle outside. The lower level members need Li Xiao's help fighting the zombies, but he can't pass up the opportunity to get the ruler's spear, which still proves to be difficult. Just when it seems as though one of the members is about to die, Chao appears to rescue him in the blink of an eye, with her exceptional swordsmanship. In that moment, the ruler seems to have gained the upper hand, but Li Sha still refuses to let go of the spear. The ruler chasts him with its power, but Li Sha manages to force his way out and grab the spear yet again. We then see that Shu has stumbled upon some writing and wonders if it is some kind of riddle. His discovery seems to bother the ruler, causing it to ditch the spear and run back to the castle. Li Sha realizes that it must mean the spear is not the formation eye and chases after it. The ruler is disappointed to see that his statues have lost their spears, but still commands them to kill Li Sha. Outside, the battle is going very poorly, and the network members question how much longer they can last. The ruler walks in just as Shu grabs something and drops it. We see that some network members have accepted their fate just as Shu attempts to catch the falling item. In typical Shu-like fashion, that dropped item is called the Mountain and River Seal, which just so happens to be the formation eye. Upon grabbing it, everything except Shu freezes and slowly begins to disintegrate. All the fragments begin to make their way to the formation eye that is now in Shu's possession. After everything has been taken in, the formation eye is absorbed into Shu, and he disappears as well. At the base of the mountain, everyone's families are happy to see the fog lifting and everyone reappearing. We then see that Zhang desperately searches for Shu, and Chao does the same. Elsewhere, Li Xiao attempts to avoid speaking to the media since news got out of the incident, and he explains that he must urgently speak with Ting. Jiang's search results in the student Shu sold the rusty axe to, complaining about how greedy he was. Some other students talk poorly about him as well and laugh at the thought of Shu being killed. Li is there as well and is annoyed to hear them. He tells Mr. Fei that the two of them were close and offers to help search to find Shu's body. However, at that moment, Shu and his excessive amounts of jewelry arrive to greet Jiang. Chao explained to him that he needed to go there to register and drop off his weapons. Shu takes a moment to point out how swollen Li's face has gotten, earning him some easy points once again, and then deposits his weapons. Shu receives several points from the Chao as he heads home and spots a trail of potato chips that lead to a tree. He sees her on it and prepares himself for a warm welcome. However, that feeling quickly turns to fear when he sees that she is not happy at all and hits him in the face. He wants to know if she has been eating properly, but she only cares about checking him for injuries as usual. She can't help but cry after seeing that he is without a scratch and has returned home safely. They hug as he apologizes for leaving her in the first place, and she storms off. Shu catches up to her and tries to show her all the valuables he managed to get, but she is disinterested. He explains that he saw many spirits and discovered that he is able to absorb them, but again, she couldn't care less. He mentions how it was similar to her pig spirit, which gets a reaction out of her, and he uses that opportunity to promise to take her out for a delicious dinner the next day. She accepts, and the two finally head home together. They run into Master Li, and he says that she should take some time off from training after this whole ordeal. But Shu says that won't be necessary since training will be peaceful compared to the excitement of the ruins. He goes on to thank Master Li for training him so much, as that gave him a great advantage in all his fights. Furthermore, they were the ones that took care of the Shah, but they say it was no problem, and that the Shah had gone out every night to look for him. Later, Shu asks the Shah to take out her D-level spirit and shows her the pearls he has obtained. He explains that they were made by the corpse dog. The black one came from absorbing spirits, and the other came from a more special kind of energy source. The corpse dog spoke to him and told him that the pearls are meant to be food for spirits. They feed the black pearl to the spirit and find that it has raised its power to the midpoint of level D. However, it seems to have the odd side effect of making it laugh uncontrollably. Li Xiao exclaims how first he heard her pig and now has made her new spirit go crazy. His next gift is some of the fruit he brought back from the ruins, which he devours, much to the dismay of Shu's large squirrel friend. She thinks it's adorable and names it Fatty, but changes it to Little Fierce Sue when she sees it doesn't like being made fun of for his size. She sees that Shu likes chips, so she uses them to bribe it into being her follower. Shu can't believe how easy Sue offered obedience after just one chip. That night, Shu gazes into the seal and finds that it allows him to observe the entire city. It also allows him to control the spirit power that emanates from the city. However, he laments the fact that his ability doesn't use spirit power to level up. He returns to find that the seal also seems to have some type of storage space. He finds a gate that he is unable to open at his current strength, but determines that he absorbed the ruins and getting in will unlock more fortunes. LaChanne desperately wakes him up as she was concerned he would leave her again. But he calms her by promising to buy appliances for the house and even go on trips using their new wealth. Elsewhere, Eugene explains to Ting that Li Sha believes the spy was the one who took the formation eye but isn't able to confirm it. Ting reveals that the seal is able to evoke the aura of the earth, and he has sent 2 members to the city so that they can detect any unusual flow of spirit power. Eugene expresses his disappointment in the performances of Li Xiao and the Yuan class, as many people ended up dying. Ting explains that the path of the awakened has always been paved with bones, and that those who are afraid to die should not pursue further development. Eugene says that Yu Tang did, however, mention that there were 2 outstanding students named Shu and Chao. Ting is intrigued and explains that they need better training for the students. He explains that change is finally coming as the war between heaven and earth draws near. Shu and the Shell watch fireworks for a moment, then decide to go inside to watch something new on TV. That's the series end for now. Thanks for watching my recap, and make sure to like and subscribe to the channel.